Uh, anyway, welcome everyone. This is our September Advisor District webinar meeting. I'm going to talk about our advisor updates, just what's been going on with a lot of changes happening here. We have Jamie and Mickey from the Special Education Office here to talk about child count. Brian will have some closing notes at the end. Naomi has a pre-recorded video that you could find here on the website at edataconference.com that is an updated video of covering everything that districts need to look at in the advisor follow-up collection. So if you aren't familiar, definitely recommend that. All right. So let me just cover a few updates about advisor. Again, 22-23, we are now in the follow-up collection period, meaning you can still send up changes to your 22-23 data, but in certain areas. So course data is still being accepted. Any of your graduation-related, graduation dropout data, and special education exits are still data that we're looking at right now. Like I said, the district should try not to do anything to damage their existing 22-23 data. But I know some people may have accidentally affected that. We've had to talk to like a few power school districts I know ended up adding enrollment records that disenrolled their seniors from last year. Rather than having them count as graduates. So just a reminder, check your completer, check your GCAT report in 22-23. Generally, we hope that unless you have specific updates to make in 22-23, your enrollment, your demographics data, none of that really needs to be changing. I know it's pretty standard procedure for some sys vendors aren't able to, don't even allow you to update that data right now, except by a special request, or I believe it's standard procedure for Power School. Most Power School districts are shut off publishing to the 22-23 and only turn it back on if needed. So, if you do have problems, then let us know and we can make sure those get corrected before October 2nd. Just a reminder, as part of the big advisor update we've done, the URL that you need to use to send up 22-23 data has changed. That's the URL there basically, but for some of you, your sys vendor will input that for you. I would just recommend you follow any directions you've seen from your student information system vendor about how to set that up. So some updates about where we're at with 23-24. Basically, the deployment went very well, I would say, more or less. There's a new 22-23 and the new 23-24 advisor servers are both up and running and are receiving data. We have been getting data in from many districts. The new advisor validation website is also up and running. That's been moved to a new server. One update we did, not related to that project, but just something that we had meant to do this year. Some errors, validation errors, were moved into their own category called prior school year. This is just to help you focus on those errors, especially in the case where after you start syncing your 23-24 data to us, we know that those errors can still be useful to look at that are looking back at 22-23 data. especially before the follow-up collection closes. That's where you might see a record that says you are re-enrolling, see an error that says you're re-enrolling someone who already graduated, or you'll see something about someone having a 205 record. Maybe you need to update them to a dropout record. Any of those changes that you need to do to your 22-23 data, if you can get them done before October 2nd, that would be good. Obviously, we support changes to the graduation cohort records after that using the graduation cohort change request system, but anything that you guys can do before the 2nd is definitely appreciated. One thing, there is a fix we need to do to these after we've got them up and running for 23-24. I think what we need to do is have them be looking at your live 22-23 data right now, because you're still changing your 22-23 data while the follow-up collection is open. So we need to make that update. I'm thinking we'll probably get that done today, and I will put a message out in the advisor validation website after we make that fix. And then after October 2nd, when your 22-23 data is truly fully closed out, at least as far as enrollment data is concerned, and anything else related to these errors, that's when we'll switch it back to point at the 22-23 year-end lock data. So that should just be a standard procedure for us going forward at the beginning of each year. And we're taking this opportunity to set some things up to make that easier for us to make that switch en masse. Also, just an update about certification testing. We're basically all done. There's a couple of discipline-related things that Power School still needs to update for the new year, in a couple of fields that Synergy will be adding. I think it's already fields that already exist in Synergy, but they'll be syncing those up to Advisor to support publishing them. But otherwise, basically everyone's certified, at least conditionally, to send data to 23-24 at this point. And that you can go to this website here if you want to see any details. We've got copies of the test plan, test results that I have from doing certification testing with each of the vendors. So, all right. Again, if you ever have any questions or anything, please use the Q&A panel in Zoom. All right, I wanted to just look back a little bit at how the advisor update went. We did get the system basically up and running on September 1st. But we did use that whole weekend, Labor Day weekend, to continue to do testing on it. And we were fixing things throughout some of that time. Unfortunately, when we wanted to turn the system back on Tuesday, the portal was having issues with security certificates. That wasn't related to our deployment, but they did get that worked out by the end of the day, I believe. So during last week, as some of you are probably aware, you may have already reported tickets to us. We were still making a few fixes and getting the overnight data loads up and running for everything. And if any of those fixes were kind of major, I've been putting messages in the announcement section at the top of the advisor validation page. So always, I'm sure you'll see that anytime you open up validation site, but just so you're aware. So at this point, we do have all of the overnight loads running, including the 22-23 cohort data, the course data that gets built into your Perkins stuff, etc. That's all running overnight again, like normal now. We had a few reports that weren't pulling up, throwing errors. We've been fixing those as we find them. We're still working through some of those potentially, but obviously if you run into any validation reports that are throwing an error, just put in a ticket, let us know. There was an issue with opening the validation site was taking longer than it used to. And this is just the first time you open it from the portal. It was taking extra long. They did fix that on Friday, so that is going a lot quicker now. There could still be potentially some performance issues people are running into. We've had weird ones with random reports or errors here and there. We had one error was slowing us down for one day and backing up the whole error queue, but we got that worked out. But again, if you notice any really unusual behavior, please put in a ticket. We'll get it on the list to look at. There was also, a problem with student IDs were missing in 23-24, so you couldn't publish all your students. We did fix that last Wednesday. I don't have it on the list because we've just been talking about it in some tickets this morning. I believe just this morning I did update the enrollment lookup to include 23-24 data. However, we are getting a few kind of random cases of people's data not pulling up in student lookup by ID. And it doesn't affect everyone, so we haven't figured it out yet. The developers are looking at it now. But I've seen 2 tickets where one student had some 22-23 data not show up in the student lookup by ID, and another student that has 21-22 data not showing up. That's definitely the highest priority one we have on the list at the moment. That and the prior school year errors, like I mentioned. So I'm hoping we'll get both of those addressed today. Some other known things that we are still going to work on. 23-24, we need to make the updates on our side, just like the SIS vendors have done, relating to some of the data that changed for 23-24. Specifically, now that we support multiple disabilities, we will be updating the 23-24 reports and errors to correctly look at the primary disability when needed. Also, some of the discipline data elements structure changed. It's not really something that you see, it's just something that us and the vendors have to deal with. Cheryl said 23-24 still not publishing. Any others having that problem? Other than, I know we've seen reports from lots of Infinite Campus districts that they're having trouble publishing. I think either 22-23 or 23-24, if I were to bet. Cheryl, I think you were Infinite Campus. But correct me if I'm wrong. I know there's lots of tickets in with Infinite Campus and CAC about that. So I'm sure they're looking at it, but I don't have any updated about it right now. Oh, Cheryl, you're on Power School. Sorry. For Power School, I haven't heard anyone specifically have problems. You may have to go check that your data exchange settings are all set up in Power School. I think the new URL was supposed to be in there automatically, but just like with any Power School updates, sometimes, you may have to put in your key and secret, because I know sometimes Power School deletes those. Unfortunately, it's just part of the update. Ellie said, make sure you may have to put in the new 22-23 URL yourself. Oh yeah, Amy said, okay, I guess you should make sure, any Power School district should make sure you have the new URLs in both 22-23 and 23-24. So yeah, once you get those new URLs in PowerSchool, you can then go to the key and secret screen and you can test the connection there, make sure it's working. Right. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about NEP. We are just getting the ball rolling with getting data loaded and stuff going for the new NEP release that's happening this fall. So this is your 22-23 data, the public release. The first step of part of this is, as usual, we've activated the ACT results download and the NSCAS results download reports in advisor validation. So in advisor validation, you flip back to the 22-23 school year, and you can access those reports under assessment, and that's basically just a copy of the exact results file that the vendors ACT and NWEA give us. And this, I don't even think it's posted publicly yet, but we're in the process of getting this posted. On the current 21-22 NEP, we have a page for the calendar for the updated releases. So similar to last year, we will be releasing in 2 different sections to the NEP Secure portal. So our goal is, I believe that's the end of next week, to release the first set of data into NEP Secure. That's membership, demographics data, teacher data, and the assessment data by itself. Just, the assessment results. Then our second release, we're looking at potentially October 20th. Obviously, these dates are definitely subject to change. Between now and then, we will be working on the new AQuest classification and designations. The rules are tweaked a little bit this year compared to last year, but it's not that different. We will be adding science back in, and we'll be kind of changing how the chronic absenteeism metric works, where we're going to build a new baseline now that we're hopefully the metrics are somewhat in a post-COVID era, and building a new baseline for generating a metric about reducing your chronic absenteeism. So that and the graduation and dropout data, which of course is still not finalized as of today, those will all be part of the second release to districts in October. Then as usual, at least this is the same way we did it last year, we just have one big release to the public site, probably in late November. That'll include, that's the big public release that'll have all the data, accountability ratings, assessment, everything there. So that's the plans for NEP. Couple of questions here. Amy asked, how does this get communicated to the districts? I assume you mean the NEP schedule here. I believe there will probably be a direct email to superintendents as well about accountability and NEP stuff. I don't know when that's going out yet exactly, but it is something we'll be talking about in the next week. Suzanne asked about the download NSC data. So that's different than the assessment data. This is your National Student Clearinghouse, your college goer data. Only has data up to 21-22. Yeah, so I assume you mean 21-22 graduates. So the first time we will get NSC data for this fall's enrollment, I think is usually like last week of November, first couple of weeks of December is when we get the first new update from NSC, and we will submit your 22-23 graduates to the National Student Clearinghouse in October. So once we've got the graduate list finalized, we send it to them, and then we'll get that update in November, December that has fall college enrollment data. Then they send us 3 updates each year from National Student Clearinghouse. The next one will be in April, which should include the spring semester, and then they send us one in like July or August, which includes a summer semester. So yeah, that's we're still in the standard schedule for NSC data. It takes a while before you can see that new year data with the new graduates. Any updates on availability of exempt schools listings? I know it's something that they are actively working on a lot this week. We will be posting a new report in advised validation, which I believe would give you that exempt schools data that you're looking for. I don't have an exact date on that yet. Obviously, we will put out some communication, at least on the validation site, probably a bulletin as well, when it is available. I would really expect, I was expecting that we would get it this week, but so it should be very soon. But yeah, I don't have an exact date on that yet, Phil. Amy asked the prior school year error category, how are those being reprocessed? Is it taking overnight? I mean, they process like any other error. You can reprocess them live, or they naturally reprocess overnight. However, like I mentioned, right now those errors in 23-24 are looking at the lock data. And we need to get those to look at the live data, because that's why you're probably not seeing any changes if you reprocess them. Becky said you're unable to reprocesses errors in the prior year category. I assume that means that the link we give you where you can process an entire category at a time. Please submit a ticket for that one, Becky. That may be a bug that we need to fix. Alrighty. Any other questions? Alrighty. I'm going to turn it over to Jamie, I think, to talk about the child count.
Awesome, thank you. Let me get my screen going here for you. Can everyone see the screen all right? Okay. All right, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. We are happy to meet with you today and talk about special education child count collection for this fall. My name is Mickey Sharp. I'm the Assistant Administrator in the Office of Special Education.
And I am Jamie Chambers. I'm the Part B Data Manager and SBPA PR Coordinator for the Office of Special Education. And we are joining today to talk about the special education child count collection, which is collected in the fall collection. The objectives we're going to cover today is reviewing IDEA requirements for the child count and educational environments collection, provide instructions for checking your advisor validation errors to ensure accurate data in your student information system, or your SIS, and that being pulled into advisor. Finally, we will review the collection dates and the audit window for the 2023-24 school year. The Office of Special Education is responsible for reporting 7 collections of data to the Federal Office of Special Education Programs, otherwise known as OSEP. These 7 collections involve 18 file submissions. The collection we are focusing on today is the Child Count and Educational Environments collection, which involve our school age and early childhood children with disability files. The picture of the IDEA 618 data collections link to an indicator card created and shared by the IDEA Data Center, otherwise known as IDC. It is a helpful tool to see all of the special education data collections, as well as the 17 indicators we report on our State Performance Plan Annual Performance Report, which is known as our SPP APR. Each file has specific instructions for the building of the files to submit and is required by the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, Section 618. EdPass file specifications for the school year 2023-24 are not yet available, but I have linked the file specifications for the 22-23 school year that we have already federally submitted in the new EdPass system. The data collected in Child Count is publicly available on NEP 120 days after our SPP APR is submitted on June 1st. Which is June 1st is when it's available. And the data is also used in our non-fiscal survey and the Common Core of data and by the Office of Civil Rights. The instructions are outlined in the file specifications provided for each file, and they're linked on this slide. In Nebraska, we have written specific advisor validation errors to assist districts in submitting data as it must be reported federally. Failure to correct your advisor validation errors prior to the data being locked can affect local and state determinations. Federal requirements for submitting the child count data for each state to designate a date is between October 1st and December 1st for their IDEA child count data. Pursuant to 92 NAC 51004.06C, Nebraska's child count date is October 1st. Child count data is a one-day snapshot of the students with disabilities served in each district. It is required for these counts to be unduplicated, meaning each student can only be counted in one district as of October 1st. The data required for this collection includes educational environment, disability category, sex, racial ethnic, and English learner status. The data is reported at the SEA or the state education agency level and the LEA or the local education agency level, and also as a school or a building level. There are currently 35 advisor validation errors for special education, and I have created a document indicating the error information as well as the possible solution to correct each error and the contacts in our office to receive further support of these errors. This document is a work in progress, and we are always trying to learn more about the data so that we can support districts. Our office has been holding office hours where districts can sign up for times to work through their errors together. I send out communication to districts reminding them to check their advisor validation errors through email, advisor bulletin, Friday blasts, and our monthly SPED webinar. Checking and correcting the errors is the responsibility of the district, and my communication is provided as a support to districts to submit timely and accurate data. Please be on the lookout for those messages from me regarding advisor validation errors, and use the booking link I send out in those messages to book a time for the SPED advisor error office hours. We want to continue to partner with each of you to improve data quality, and we don't want to focus simply on getting rid of the errors, but we want you to know the errors are written to flag us for issues in federal reporting. There are always unique circumstances, especially in special education, where the programming is intended to fit each individual child. If you come across a difficult error or aren't understanding the error, please do not hesitate to contact me. It is much better to talk through the situation in order for you to have an accurate account of what is happening with your students and ensure that it is properly reflected in your data. As previously mentioned, this data is used in many ways, locally and nationally, and we want it to be the best reflection of the hard work that you do for students every day. While we report numbers, Each number represents the life of a student, and we shouldn't lose sight of the end result being positive impacts for the students across the state.
Yeah,
Districts,
Jamie?
sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Question, before we get too far away, that the emails you talked about regarding special education errors, Leo was asking, data stewards receive those, or that goes to the SPED directors?
That is a great question. Yes, our communication out of our office goes to special education directors and sometimes superintendents within each district. That's the list that we use for that communication.
Right. And also those links from the last slide I put in the chat, so everyone can get there, as well as these slides are also available at that nedataconference.com website.
Awesome. Right. Thank you, Max. All right. So districts can access their list of errors in advisor validation under special education, and linked on this slide are the step-by-step instructions for accessing the portal and advisor validation to see the errors for each district. Once you are viewing the error, you can click on the hyperlinked number and it will show you the student level data that is causing the error. This information can be very helpful to decipher what needs to be corrected in your student information system or SRS, whatever systems that you use. Some of the common advisor validation errors that I see are enrollment data and special education data doesn't match. So if a district uses SRS to report special education data and it doesn't match the enrollment information in the student information system, then it will throw an error. So my advice is to always check and make sure the enrollment data and the SPED data are the same. Another common error is with preschool and school age LRE. Make sure you pay special attention to the ages when using advisor special education setting codes listed in the advisor data elements. Each code has a description of the code, the level of program participation, and an explanation of use. The levels of program participation range from Part C to Part B. Part B is then split among preschool and school-age children. Some Part B codes are only for preschool students who are ages 3 to 5, with the 5-year-olds who are not currently in kindergarten. Other codes are for school-age students only, and they include the 5-year-olds in kindergarten through 21 years old. Common errors pop up when a student transitions from preschool to kindergarten. Since the codes are different for preschool versus school age, you have to make sure the age of the student, the program level of participation, and the code that you use matches the student. If you code a preschool student with a school age code, you will receive an error message. And if a student transitions from preschool to kindergarten and their setting code hasn't been updated to a school age code, you will receive an error. Nebraska's child count snapshot is October 1st, so the setting codes of all the students with special needs in your districts needs to be accurate as of October 1st. If we at NDE have to reach out to a district to correct an advisor validation error after the collection is closed, and then the district would have to submit a late data request in order to get that correction made. So please, 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 please make sure you keep track of your errors and get them corrected before the data is locked. Late data requests are used on local determinations for timely, accurate, and complete data, because submitting data with errors can result in the state receiving determinations from the Federal Office of Special Education. And finally, I have our dates. Our Nebraska child count date is October 1st. We collect this data within the fall collection, which is due October 15th. NDE does offer an audit window from October 16th to October 31st, where you can review and clear all your advisor validation errors prior to the data being locked on October 31st. Please refer to the advisor data calendar and the SPED data calendar to ensure that you meet these important deadlines. Thank you so much for your attention. I have included my email address on this slide, so please reach out with any further questions.
There's a couple questions in the Q&A. Leah just asked, or Leah, I should, I'm sure, asked she would like if the special ed communications could go to data stewards. We don't have an exact list of data stewards, but we've got a pretty good list, so that is something we could definitely consider doing. Patty asked, what happens when a student leaves and our exit code for a student is a 205, not enrolled, eligible to return? But there's no exit code that matches that in the special education exits. For example, the student is left and is waiting for a request. Oh, they're waiting for a request for records from the Job Corps.
I think the student remains in that code until you get the formal records request for transfer.
I believe so, yeah, because I think I've had that conversation with Amy Roan where each district has to remain responsible for the student with special education until the responsibility is picked up by wherever else they're going.
And Job Corps is a special purpose Rule 10 school. I'm assuming that there's been phone calls to their registrar and so forth to make sure the student, yep, they are there and we have requested. I can
Send me an email
I was
and we
going to say I
will,
can help out with that
Yeah.
too.
we will do what we can to support you.
Levels of determination have to do with our timely, accurate, and complete data in regards to the various indicator areas for special education. Those have to do with low risk for compliance, medium, high risk for compliance. So determinations are based on not only student outcome data, but also federal compliance. So it's kind of a separate measuring system, for lack of a better word, that helps us as the SEA meet federal requirements. So we assign determinations to our school districts with the hope of providing corrective actions, supports, so that you can move to a low risk determination.
And the determination language we have to use is from the federal government. So the levels of determination are meets requirements, needs assistance, needs intervention, or needs substantial intervention. And we do have a document on our website, on the special education website, that goes in a little bit further about the levels of determination, the any counts and levels of determination. We have gotten a lot of feedback regarding the names of those levels, but they are federally required, and we have to use that to name our districts.
This is the first year that we have not had all 244 districts meet requirements, and there's a variety of reasons for that. So just know that it does look and feel different this year, and that our goal is to help move all the schools back to the meets requirements designations.
All right, I think that's all we've got. Thanks so much.
Yep. Thank you for joining us. And yep, if anyone else has any questions, go ahead, put them in the Q&A. I know someone mentioned possible staff question. We can answer that as well. Naomi's video, Amy, for the follow-up collection is already posted on the nedataconference.com website. If that's the video that you are referring to. So you'll go down to here, I'll show you. You'll go down and open up the accordion for September 13th here. And then it's at the bottom underneath the schedule.
And it's also on the Workday site. I'll put a link in the chat.
All right, thank you, Naomi. Jordan was just asking about staff collection due dates, which we didn't really cover here, but just to be clear, by rule, September 15th is the initial due date for staff data for the new school year. That is when we expect that you have your initial set of data in, we hope. But we say the due date for staff data is October 31st, the same as the student data. Basically, we're expecting your full set of fall staff data to be fully corrected, and all the data to be good by October 31st. Yeah, there is something written in state statute that specifically calls out September 15th as the initial date for getting staff data in. So that's why it's different from the from how the audit window for student data works. Alrighty. That's all the questions. I believe Brian had a slide to share to take us out for today. Or Brian, can you share? Or do you need me to share that? Brian, can you hear me? I can go ahead and share this. Just a couple of notes about upcoming presentations here for our data webinar sessions. We are not planning a live webinar in October. That's typically something we do every year. We'll have some pre-recorded sessions we'll post on the website, and we'll announce that with the bulletin as well. Obviously, work days are going on around that time as well. So our next regular monthly webinar will be in November, and we will have that posted on the Any Data Conference website. And I believe, as we've mentioned here before, but just again, reminder to everyone, we are planning an in-person data conference, April 16th and 17th at Eunice in Kearney. So we'll expect in the future, near future here, we will be starting the push for getting people to sign up for the conference. But I'm sure you'll see lots of communication from us about that when it's ready to go. All right, I believe that's all we have. Thanks everyone, and like I said, we'll catch you at the November meeting for our next one. Thanks for joining everyone.